I was talking to an American friend recently and he asked me, why are there so many Pakistanis in Britain? He didn't ask it like that, by the way. Not all my conversations are with racists. He's actually Muslim himself, but American Muslim, so he's kind of normal. But it got me thinking, why does Britain have so many people from one specific valley in Pakistan, the Mirpur Valley? I'll look at that in a moment, but first, are there about to be a whole bunch more? There was apparently some good news this week. British politicians launched a campaign to build some much needed infrastructure. Unfortunately, the infrastructure isn't in Britain, it's in Pakistan. Specifically, it's in Mirpur in the Kashmir region, which is the origin of a huge proportion of Britain's Pakistani community and has a tribal, honour-based, medieval misogynistic culture that also makes them a large proportion of the grooming gangs that have blighted British working-class communities. Here's a picture of the Mirpur Valley. It's a beautiful place. It looks a bit like where I'm from in Scotland, and it's pretty similar to where I'm from in Scotland, with a tightly knit clan structure and lots of people shagging their cousins. But over there, the parents actually arrange it, which is just weird. Maybe they want the extra fingers for picking crops or something. Well, there's more on this imported culture and its impact on Britain in a moment too, but first, let's look at this airport campaign. A group of Labour politicians want to build a new airport in Mirpur to make it easier for even more of these men to get to Britain. Apparently, the substantial British Kashmiri population currently face a 3-hour drive between Islamabad International Airport and Mirpur. Well, it's great to see British politicians prioritising inconvenient commuting times in Pakistan. It must mean that they've totally sorted out their constituencies in Britain, right? Everything running smoothly, no problems, no streets overrun with rotten garbage and rats the size of cats spreading Victorian diseases. Well, not exactly. Here's the view from Birmingham, where one of the campaigners, Labour MP Tahir Ali, is currently overseeing a collapse in basic public services that's led to rubbish piling up in the streets and an epidemic of giant rats.
There's 5 schools around here and all this rubbish and all the waste now.
Terrible.
It's disgusting. Our Baby school's actually closed because rats got into the school.
Rats got into the school?
Yeah, because of all the waste.
Right.
It's out of hand now.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been going on way too long.
How often are you having to come to the tip yourself?
It's my 3rd time here. Another 2 weeks. So I've been to before again.
Yeah.
And we black bags outside again.
Yeah.
There's that much rubbish around now.
Yeah.
It's starting to become a health hazard.
Local resident Suhail Sadiq says, "We're not a third world country, we're England." Sorry mate, you're actually both. Those are no longer mutually exclusive terms. Who'd have thought that allowing people into Britain from countries that look like this would result in Britain looking like this? Birmingham's rubbish used to just be an accurate phrase to describe Birmingham, but now it's an actual health hazard with rats spreading wheals disease. This has partly been blamed on tribal loyalties resulting in corruption and public sector contracts being gifted to cousins and brothers who can then shake the taxpayer down for more money. Speaking of tribal loyalties, this politician Tahir Ali also asked Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister, to commit to introducing measures to prohibit the desecration of all religious texts and the prophets of the Abrahamic religions. In a nutshell, he wants Islamic blasphemy laws to be introduced to the UK. They're already unofficially here. Nobody in Britain would dare disrespect Islam's religious icons after seeing people killed, threatened and forced into hiding over supposed blasphemy. Of course, when Tahrir was criticised for prioritising an airport in Pakistan over his own constituency, he stood up in Parliament and cried that it's Islamophobic.
Deputy Speaker, on 28th of March, I shared on social media the work I and colleagues across the 2 houses have been doing to urge the government of Pakistan to build an international airport at Mirpur. This is an important issue for over 1 million British Kashmiris who overwhelmingly come from there and face delay and danger whilst travelling from Islamabad to Mirpur. The reactions to that post, including from some members of the House, have resulted in us being subject to Islamophobic, racist attacks and harassment. The members of Great Yarmouth, Harborough, Oadby and Wigston, the member for Uppington, the member for Boston and Skegness, all of whom have been...
The honourable member should not be criticising other members for their social media posts in that way.
And they're total hypocrites. Zara Sultanabran opposed the expansion of Britain's main airport, Heathrow, even though it would economically benefit the UK. But airports in Pakistan are good? Does she think that airplanes in Pakistan are powered by elastic bands? These people only invoke climate change when it's a way to damage Britain and Western civilization. Naz Shah also put her name to the campaign. She's the Labour MP who retweeted this when the grooming gang scandal was unravelling. Those abused girls in Rotherham and elsewhere just need to shut their mouths for the good of diversity. and Mirpur is the region of Pakistan most associated with grooming gangs. The campaign was launched by Mohammed Yassin, the Labour MP for Bedford, who was born in Mirpur, and it begs the question, why are so many Pakistanis from this one specific region in Britain? Well, in the 1960s, the construction of the Mangla Dam in Pakistan's Mirpur district submerged over 280 villages and displaced 110,000 people. At the same time, Britain was seeking labour to rebuild its post-war economy. The result was a significant wave of migration from Mirpur to the UK, particularly to cities like Bradford, Luton and Birmingham. In 1987, British sociologist Professor Roger Ballard noted that at least 75% of British Pakistanis could trace their origins back to an area no more than 600 square miles, mainly focused on Mirpur district. We're talking about a subset of a subset of a subset, so the cultural traits of this specific valley in Kashmir have had an outsized impact in Britain. And what began as economic migration soon evolved into chain migration, as early arrivals sponsored family members to join them. Over time, some towns developed large, close-knit British Pakistani communities. When I say close-knit, I mean close-knit. 2/3 of marriages in some Pakistani communities in Britain are between first cousins. Some people integrated, especially in the early days when numbers were low and Britain was still, well, British. I had a mate in comedy whose granddad came over and he's now like a posh English guy. I don't think he likes me anymore because of these videos. Baroness Worsey's grandparents are from very near Mirpur and Sajid Javid's parents are from just down the road. So some Pakistanis clearly contributed hugely to British society and fully integrated into British culture, even if the part of British culture Baroness Worsey integrated into was Norfolk in the 1700s, as she did end up marrying her cousin. But as chain immigration ramped up, some of the towns immigrants arrived into became effectively separate nations inside Britain with their own culture, language and laws. Even if new arrivals wanted to integrate into British culture, there's no British culture in these places left to integrate into. Reports such as the Casey Review in 2016 identified areas of concern in these communities, including social segregation, resistance to British values, segregated schools, misogyny and poverty. Some British Muslim communities have Sharia councils applying Islamic law. Defenders of these Sharia councils say that they cannot override UK law and are essentially voluntary. But how voluntary are they really when there's such community pressure and women are controlled by men? This has all impacted heavily on the native British community, with tensions mainly related to the grooming gang scandal. On the same day as Labour MPs were lobbying for an airport to be built in Pakistan, Reform MP Rupert Lowe started fundraising for a public inquiry into rape gangs who are predominantly Mirpuri Pakistani. Why is this? Well, Mirpur's geographic isolation and culture gave rise to the intensely tribalistic, medieval, misogynistic and cruel behaviour exhibited by the grooming gangs. Because they were so isolated in Mirpur, they didn't have much interaction with the state, so their clan-based structure, known as biradari, prioritises internal rule enforcement and group loyalty over state law. Dispute resolution is managed by elders focusing on social harmony rather than individual justice. Their culture has had no enlightenment or embrace of individual rights like we've had in the West, so instead there's the honour of tribes and families that takes precedent. Consent is not central, social context defines the legitimacy of sexual acts. For example, the idea that a wife could be raped by a husband would be seen as ridiculous because of the social context of marriage. The husband owns the wife. Rape is seen as a dishonour to the victim's family rather than as a breach of individual consent, so this is resolved between families, not courts. This leads to situations like that in Multan in Pakistan, where a village council ordered a rapist's sister, who was just 16 years old, to be raped by the victim's brother as revenge for the original rape. We can't imagine this happening in the West, but in a tribal honour-based society, the family has been dishonoured, so this was seen as balancing the honour between the clans. When lefties talk about diversity being a strength, this is the diversity they're talking about. This is what diverse cultures look like. And how does this play into the grooming gangs phenomenon? Well, external women outside the clan and outside the ethnic group are not protected by the internal social codes. These attitudes stayed with the clans as they moved to British towns and maintained their close-knit honour system. As one grooming gang member said, "White girls are easy meat. I've seen this attitude watered down in a Pakistani man I know who had lots of casual sex with white girls and then settled down with what he considered to be a good Muslim woman." That's one end of the scale. The other end is absolutely horrific, and the British government dumped these men with this culture in impoverished British towns where social liberalisation was removing any of the social structures, also known as the patriarchy, that might have protected these girls. British girls, especially the vulnerable working class girls in care homes or with chaotic family lives, are seen by these clans as without honour and thus incapable of being dishonoured. And the biradari clan structures also facilitate chain immigration by providing men in Pakistan's medieval valleys with the advice and the means to navigate the immigration process. ridiculous. Building an airport is going to expedite this process even more. So why are Labour so keen on importing a demographic of men whose presence in the UK has led to crimes so horrific and so widespread that they threaten to tear open the fraying fabric of British society and plunge us into all-out sectarian conflict? Well, left-wing politicians think that Muslims will vote for them, and to be fair, they will until they have enough numbers for their own candidates. Most lefties also secretly fetishise Islamists. The little peckers of skinny-wristed lefty men get hard looking at Hamas with their machine guns and their Che Guevara outfits. It's so authentic. And the left have always allied with Islam. You might think that Islamist values such as the subjugation of women, the criminalisation of homosexuality, and laws against religious blasphemy don't exactly chime with the progressive left, who are fiercely atheist, think a man opening a door for a woman is sexual assault, and words are violence. But the left's big enemy is Western civilization. They hate everything about it. They hate the meritocracy because it favours the best and the smartest, and the left aren't the best or the smartest. They hate capitalism because they have no capital. They hate freedom in dating because they're ugly, and every single leftist is fat or skinny, or a weird combination of fat and skinny. They're disgusting. Anyone who will help the left destroy Western civilization so that they can remake it as a communist utopia where the money and the pussy is redistributed to the masses is a helpful tool to them. This is what happened in Iran in 1979 when leftists allied with Islamists to overthrow the Shah. Once in power, the Islamists executed and jailed the leftists. Silver linings and all that. Well, Labour MPs have defended the calls for the airport, saying that British taxpayers' money won't be spent on it, but lots of British money goes to Pakistan already, so it might as well be. For the current financial year, Britain is sending Pakistan £133 million in aid, and in 2021, Pakistani workers in the UK sent over £4 billion home as remittances. But as someone pointed out on Twitter, this airport could be a great thing. They just need to build it with an arrival terminal only. Anyway, thanks for listening. If you want to support me making these videos chronicling the self-immolation of Western civilization and our descent into anarcho-tyranny, you can support me by becoming a Patreon and joining a community of the only sane people left in the West, and access all my content and live streams and stuff, and maybe one day we'll all buy an island off the coast of Scotland and start a civilization all over again. Anyway, thanks for listening. I've been Leo Kears. Bye. Bye.